Hello, everybody. Welcome to Rational Talks podcast. Before I introduce you to our guest today, here are words from our sponsors. Construction DPF for all your construction needs. If you need any landscaping, renovation, or maintenance on your properties, DPF is the company to call. Construction DPF Inc. 450-674-9220. And Fort Knox Beauty Bar, 6431 Jean Talon Street East in St. Leonard, Quebec. Fort Knox is a new beauty bar, tattoo, and barber shop with their extensive list of services from men's and women's hair, lashes, manicures, pedicures, tattoos, and piercings. There is something for everyone. Fort Knox Beauty Bar at 6431 Rue Jean Talon Street East, St. Leonard, Quebec. 514-259-5959. Well, welcome everybody to Rational Talks podcast. One of the goals of this podcast was to show you the personal journey of members of our community and how hard work pays off. In the European football world here in Quebec, few have had the journey that our guest today has had. He left for Europe when he was just 18, played in Italy, came back, played for the Montreal Impact and the national team, then went on to play in Norway, where he played in the UEFA Cup against the legendary Glasgow Rangers at the iconic Ibrox Stadium. For the last 10 years, he's been in coaching and has developed quite a few youth players with a promising future. Please welcome to the podcast, Sandro Grande. How are you, Sandro?
Hey, good, you, Michael?
Pretty good, pretty good. First of all, I'd like to thank you for accepting the invitation. It's really an honor for having you on my podcast. I followed your career since I was a young adult. And in the last few months, I've been following also your coaching career. And I'm very impressed with what you've been able to do at l'Étoile de l'Est and now in your new adventure coming up at the Montreal Manic.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad to be here. I mean, it's a good thing going. A lot of exciting things coming about. So it's gonna be some exciting times coming soon.
Should be. So let's dive in right into our conversation. Tell us a bit about growing up in Montreal. How you felt, how a kid from Montreal at that age, because I think you're a bit older than me, fell in love with the game and where you played your youth soccer in the city.
Well, I think like most people of my age back in the day, falling in love with soccer was on Sunday mornings. A lot of our parents are first generation immigrants, and they come from countries where soccer is everything and anything. And my dad was not an athlete, but very passionate soccer fan. And that's it. So started watching soccer. Then I had my older brothers that played a bit, so that always helps. And just following them to the field, enjoying myself, striking the ball and playing with others, and then from there, joined the St. Leonard Soccer Club.
Yep.
So I played with St. Leonard from the age of 4 all the way to 18, 19 when I left to Italy. And never changed club. I didn't find the need to change club. We had a good squad, good group, a lot of friends that we are still friends today. Very tight knit group, and look, it's the stuff that laid the foundation for me today.
Yeah, I played a bit of youth soccer, not elite, but I played a bit with RDP, a bit with Saint Donat later on in my career. And St. Leonard always had a good program, considering at that time the leagues weren't top notch in developing and everything and tactical and technical. But St. Leonard had a good program. I remember playing against them. And I have a few friends that played. You also like to play with older people. You always had people tell me you always had a ball with you playing soccer. even some people would go watch some games at the park, and then you would finish your games with St. Leonard, and you'd stay and play with the adults too, because you were, I guess, good enough to play with them. Because sometimes adults don't let any kids play with them.
Yeah, I mean, look, back in the day, those kinds of things happened more often. I think society was okay with that. I mean, nowadays, it seems like the adults are with the adults, the kids are with the kids, and there's this like detachment, and I think that's what helped us as well, growing up, is that we had those older kids next to us. We had my I was allowed to go and play with my brother's friends, and just be at the park, and watch the older kids play, and see what they do. And back then it happened more often. Nowadays it's like, I find, like, the kids go to the field, they train, and there are some kids that stay behind and stay for like half an hour, 45 minutes, because they just love the game. But the majority go there, train, do their business, get in the car, and go home. So we had a lot less of that. We had a lot more, ride your bicycle to the park and
Yes.
stay at the park as long as you wanted, and then when you felt the need to go home, you went home.
Yeah, that's basically it. Tell us a bit about um, like how were practices back then? How was the tactical part of being of youth soccer? How they instructed the youth? Because we all know these people were volunteers back then, and they gave their time and their effort, but maybe didn't have the experience in coaching to maybe have the right tactics in practice. Tell us a bit how practices were back then when you were a youth player.
Look, I was uh, quite lucky, for what it was, the reality of what it was. I mean, I had guys like Joe Primiani, Italo Di Gioacchino, Andrea Di Pietrantonio, who are all good soccer minds. They're the first ones to say that what we used to do back then is totally outdated.
Yeah.
But I mean, for our reality, it was decent, and they gave a lot of their time. They helped us out. They loved the game of soccer, the game of football. And I mean, I do a lot of research, I do a lot of studying, and I see some quotes, and there's a quote from Johan Cruyff that says something like, I don't remember the exact words, but it says something like, the boy goes to training 3 times a week with his coach, an hour and a half, and then the rest of the day spends 6 7 hours at the park playing in a free environment. Where do you think the kid developed? You know, and I think back in the day, that was a big key. I mean, like you said before, you were able to go there and mix in with older kids, and there was no only the 8-year-olds stay with the 8-year-olds, and the
Yes.
9-year-olds stay with the 9-year-olds. Like, it was always, and it was like that for soccer. It was like that for ball hockey. It was like
True.
that when you went to the park and played baseball or tennis or whatever. Like, it didn't matter. So I think that played a big role. If we look at all the evidence around the world, like Johan Cruyff said, I mean, if you go to Brazil, I wasn't fortunate enough to go to Brazil to watch the World Cup, but a couple of my friends were, and they said, on the beach, the people are playing soccer all day long. Like,
Yes.
you have these little kids. One of my buddies told me, I saw these little kids. Like, I would see them in the morning, I would leave, come back, and they would still be there
Still there.
playing. So for me, when you look at things like that, you say to yourself, okay, you know what? That the training sessions are very, very important. But the reality is that uh, us as human beings, we are capable enough, we are intelligent enough, to be able to come up with solutions, and we don't always need a coach. A coach should be there to help guide,
Guide, exactly. Yes.
give little cues, but in the end, the kids, the players need to be free. They need to be free to be creative. They need to be free to find their own solutions. If you give me a math problem and you give yourself a math problem, and we sit down with a blank piece of paper, I am sure somewhere along the line, there's going to be a different thought process between myself and yourself, and we're
Of course.
probably still going to get to the same solution. and the solution is going to be right on both papers, but you went about it one way and I went about it another way, and I
Our
think that's
process to get there was different. Yeah.
exactly, and that's important because it gives the kids that sense of, you know what, I accomplished this. I didn't need Sandro to tell me to do this and this. And even in the education system right now, I mean, there's a lot of discussions going on how we can better the education system. Sitting behind the desk and listening to somebody monologue for 6-7 hours a day is not the ideal situation. We need kids to
Doesn't work
explore.
for everybody. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. We need kids to explore. We need kids to be independent, and uh, and that's
Be
it. So
creative, live their passion,
exactly,
because I guess to everybody likes to play sports recreatively, but when you're doing it in an elite competitive manner, um, it's important to be passionate about what you do,
of
because
course.
then that brings you confidence, and then confidence brings you motivation, and then a snowball effect into how you are developing, in my opinion.
So you said confidence. The word confidence. I just finished a course, a Barcelona course, coaching course, and it says in there, it says, if the coach is constantly giving the solutions, the kids will become they will become dependent on the
Hmm.
coach, and they'll be more insecure when the coach is there just as a guidance, as an extra person, as another person to help them through the process. But most of the solutions is discovered by the player. They become more confident, they become less anxious and less stressed when they're on the field, or in
In every aspect, in other
every
aspects of
aspect.
life.
Exactly. So
Okay, so let's move forward a bit to your playing career,
yeah.
because at a young age, you were 18 when you decided to go to Italy and live your dream. Um, Everybody has to work hard. We all know that, but also sometimes at some points you have to make sacrifices also. And I heard in a previous podcast you recorded about one, we can call it an important sacrifice you made, because you had an offer from for a scholarship at a university, and you decided to leave that offer on the table to go live your dream and try out in Italy. Talk to us about maybe a bit of the process of a young player at that age having to make the sacrifice and making an important life decision like the one you made.
Look, I mean, those are tough decisions to make. When I announced it to my parents, it was a month before I was supposed to leave. Like, it was not even 6 months before or a year before. I was supposed to leave in August, and I decided this at the end of July.
Hmm.
It was a tough decision, but the reality is that I had something in mind. My passion was football. Was it the best decision? I don't know. I guess it worked out for me.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
One of my good friends is Patrice Bernier
Hmm.
and Olivier Ossian, and they both went to university in the States. Patrice did, I think, 1 or 2 years at Syracuse. Olivier did I think the full 4 years,
Well,
and both of them also ended up in Europe. So I don't think there's one pathway. I don't think there's one way to get to the top. I think what drives each individual is what's going to get you to the top.
well
How much
said.
are
Yeah.
you willing to? You said it before. How much are you willing to sacrifice? I mean, the first time I left Montreal to go to Italy, it was beautiful, it was amazing, no issues at all. And then I came back for Christmas, and then I left again. And then when I left for the second time, that was very, very tough
Mm.
because it started to hit me that, oh my gosh, like, I'm not going to be home
Well,
much longer. When I came back for Christmas, I came back for a couple of weeks. So being home again and seeing the family and all this stuff was it felt fantastic. And then when I left again, it's
it
like,
hits
okay,
you at that time. Yeah.
yeah, so these are sacrifices that you have to make. And if people think that you're gonna go to Europe and you're gonna get off the plane and they're gonna greet you with open arms and give you everything, and you're going to be a professional player overnight, and you're going to play with the best clubs in the world overnight. It's not the reality. It's not
No,
the reality, and
life is not like that. No.
life is not like that, exactly. And what's important is that people have to understand that when you get there, it's just starting, and it never ends. Like, it's always just starting.
Hmm.
So you can play in one club, do really, really well, and then as soon as the next year comes around, maybe you're in the same club, but you still got to perform again.
Yeah.
Or maybe you move to a better club, and now you got to re-perform again, right? So
You got to prove
it's a
yourself again.
constant.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's constant, and kids, I know a lot of kids here. They talk to me and, oh yeah, but I don't want to go and play in third division in Italy. And I tell parents all the time, and I tell the kids, like, playing third division in Italy, or third division in England, or third division in Germany, like, you could make a living. Like, you know, the obviously right now with the COVID and budgets and all the stuff, the salaries have gone down a little bit
Yeah.
in those divisions, but you can still make $150,000 a year, clean,
To do something you
after
love.
after tax, to do something you love. If
Yeah.
you're able to do that for 15 years,
It's pretty good.
you've built up a pretty good savings account. Like,
Yeah.
so people, they only see Juventus, they only see AC Milan, they see Chelsea, and those are beautiful things. But the reality is that there's about, what, maybe 30, 40 clubs at that level,
Yeah.
and there's about, I think it's 4 or 5 billion soccer players
Around the
around the
world.
world. So,
So the odds
like,
are not on your side for that one.
the odds are not on your side for that one. But can you play pro? Definitely. And I don't like. See, it's a little bit. Everybody here talks about the 1%. Oh, only the 1% makes the pro ranks. Maybe in the NHL, yeah. Maybe in the NBA, maybe in NFL, where these are one leagues.
Exactly.
NBA, okay, you can still play in Europe, you can still play in China. NHL, there's a few leagues here and there, but there's not many. But in soccer, there's 300 leagues
Yeah.
that you can play pro soccer and make good
All around
money
the world. Yeah.
all around the world. You can go to Thailand. Like, I was close to going to Thailand towards the end of my career, and contracts were 15, 20, $30,000 a month.
Wow.
So
For playing in Thailand, that's pretty good.
so these are things that people don't understand, and they all, yes, and it's fine to dream to play for Manchester United one day. That's totally in your right, and you should dream, you should focus on those big
Have that
goals.
objective. Yeah.
Exactly, because it's going to force you, it's going to motivate you every day to keep on working.
But you also
But
have to understand that it's baby steps, and that slow and steady wins the race.
exactly,
The dedication and
exactly,
hard work, and you'll get as far as your talent and your work brings you.
exactly. You say slow and steady, and these are stories that we grew up with.
Mhm.
Um, but if you look at guys like Jamie Vardy,
Yes.
who was nowhere on the map, or N'Golo Conte from Chelsea, who was nowhere on the map at 19, at 20, 21, 22, and then all of a sudden at 24, 25 get a chance. And
And
Jamie
score.
Vardy's been one of the top Premier League strikers in the last 6, 7 years.
Yeah, I just saw him this past week saying that he'll never leave Leicester City because they believed in him when nobody else did. And look at him now; he's a world class scorer
Exactly.
and
And,
forward.
and then there might have been the guy that at 18 was already driving huge cars and playing in the Premier League, and then it only lasted 2 years because he couldn't, he wasn't focused, and he wasn't
Mentally ready.
mentally ready. He didn't stay humble. He saw the money, he saw the fame and the fortune, and then those guys don't make it nowhere, so these are things that it's a marathon. It's not a sprint.
Yeah, exactly.
It takes time, and just enjoy the ride.
And you can't give up, because when you got there, obviously, like you said, nothing is handed to you. And like I've heard you say that at the beginning you were six guys in an apartment. Um, that you had to even sleep when, as a as an 18-year-old, sleep in the airport in Lisbon. Uh,
Yeah.
I could only imagine sleeping there overnight, thinking, "Oh my God, I'm on my way to Italy. I got to perform." The thoughts that are going through your head must be insane.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, actually, not too long ago, I told my kids about that, about the sleeping in the airport, and my son was like, what do you mean? Why did you sleep in the airport?" And I'm like, "Well, because I needed to get the flight the next morning, and the person that dropped me off at the airport could only drop me off the night before, and I didn't have the money to go and check myself into a hotel. And the reality is that I dropped my bags on the floor. I made myself a little bed with my bags. I slept on top of them because I didn't want to get them stolen, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I slept with one eye open, that's for sure. But these are not stories that they only happen to me or whatever. Like
Oh no.
I'm good friends with Alex Bunbury, and
Yes.
he had a similar type of story in when he went to England to. I think he went to was it West Ham or Aston Villa. I was getting mixed up between those two clubs.
Mhm.
Um, so when he went to England, he had the same type of story. If I'm not mistaken, he slept overnight outside or something, and these are the sacrifices that we were willing to make to be able to get to the next level.
Yeah, yeah. This is very, very important, and I hope the young ones that play soccer are listening and saying that nothing will be handed to them. That they will have to go through these hard times sometimes, and they have to fight through it and continue going forward. So, okay, tell us a bit about that period from 18 to when you were battling in Italy to make your name and go from fourth division, right? You started
Yeah,
Isernia. I might not pronounce my
yeah,
Italian is
exactly. Yeah.
not amazing, and so talk us about that time from Isernia to when you went in the summer to Brescia to play in Intertoto.
Yeah, so basically, Isernia was my first full year in Italy. Um, First few games, first 4 weeks, I didn't play at all. I was in the stands. I was not even dressed, not even on the bench. And then a few injuries happened, a few suspensions, and then all of a sudden I got my chance, and I took my chance. I took my chance, and from there I think I played. Other than one game that I accumulated yellow cards, I played 30 games in a row. Um, and I scored 7 goals as a midfielder, 7 or 8 goals as a midfielder. So that was laying the foundation. Then after that, the coach moved on to another club, Stefano Sandera, and I followed him. He brought me to Potenza. Potenza was another great year. We were battling for the top of the league. Unfortunately, the club ran into some financial problems. We weren't getting paid. And at that point, in the month of February, I decided, you know what, I'm just going to go back to Montreal. I came back to Montreal with the thought process of going to university. I said, I was really discouraged, and in the summer, in the month of June, Coach Sander was moving on to Frosinone, and he gave me a call and he said, "Listen, I want you to come. I think you're going to be a key figure in our squad.
What
We're going to
division were they
battle."
in at that time, Frosinone?
And Frosinone was in fourth division still,
Hmm.
and I said, "Listen, I go, I have no issues. I go, but I'm not going to go through the same thing that I went through last year. So if you want me to come, just tell the club as soon as I get off the plane, I get all my money right away.
Hmm. Guarantees. You wanted
I get all
guarantees.
my paychecks. The paychecks are not normal paychecks; they're registered checks that I can deposit once a month. Not a problem. But I want my money in my hands because I don't want to go through the same thing that I went through the year before. And that was done. As soon as I got to the airport, the club had the contract ready for me, had my stuff all ready for me, and I was free in my mind, and I was ready to do what I had to do.
Able
And
to concentrate on the game.
yeah, just the game. And we had a fantastic season. We got promoted into the third division along with Martina Franca. We finished second; they finished first. We got promoted as well. And that year, until December, I was playing games like there's a rating system based on your a grading system based on your performance on the Sunday, and on Monday every time all the newspapers they grade how you played yesterday.
Okay.
And I was top five in Italy in fourth division with regards to my average grade, and a lot of noise was going on. There were
Creating a buzz. You're creating a buzz.
yeah, there was a lot of interest. I mean, third division clubs, like there was plenty of them that were interested. There were about seven, eight um, second division clubs, Serie B clubs, and then there was about three or four Serie A clubs. There was
Wow.
Udinese, Fiorentina, Brescia, and basically from there, the president had a good relationship with the president of Brescia, so they got the deal done for me to go to Brescia, and went there in January. Stayed there a few weeks only in January because I was going to go back to Frosinone to finish my season and hopefully help the club win the championship. So went back, finished the season, and then in July of that year joined Brescia on a three-year contract, and look, I mean, I reached the summit, and that was a great thing, but it was also a thing that like we said before, I thought it was over. I'm at the
Yeah.
summit, but
Yeah.
that
How
was
old were
just
you at the time when you reached
I
Brescia?
was 22,
22.
22
So
years
it's
old. Yeah,
still young.
20.
I've
Yeah,
heard you say before that you were physically ready, tactically ready, technically ready, but maybe you were lacking a bit of mental readiness.
exactly.
Uh,
Because what
How how
happens is,
important how important is that mental aspect?
look, it's arrived at that level. Yes, there are the phenoms,
Hmm.
the big time players, the guys that you're that level there is like really almost untouchable. But everybody underneath that, more or less, is at the same level. Um, what differs is what they have in here and being able to bring it every day. You know. Um, so if I take an example, Gennaro Gattuso,
Hmm.
who's not a phenomenal player, who's not even close to Andrea Pirlo,
Yeah.
but yet had a tremendous career. Why? And maybe had a longer, more successful career than players that were so much more talented than him.
Yeah.
But the reason he was able to do it is because mentally he was super strong, And
Yeah.
for me, it was more the overwhelming situation. So you go there, you're always used to being, an important player on every squad that you've been in. And now all of a sudden, I wasn't ready to be player number 22, 23, 24,
Yeah.
25, And unfortunately, like I didn't have people around me that were helping me in that way, you know, um, to help me deal with it, and just be patient because my time was going to come, and if I look back at it now, the first year that I went to Isernia, I was number
Exactly.
20, 21, 22 in the squad as well.
Then when you
And then
got
I
your chance,
became
you played 29 straight games.
exactly, so I think if I would have been patient, if I could go back now and just be patient and really train hard and do what I needed to do to try and gain the coach's confidence, I think I would have played a long time in Serie A, and maybe not even in Serie A. Maybe I would have had a Serie B career, which is
Yeah,
fantastic as well.
of course.
So it was just the overwhelming situation. Guys. I mean, on the squad, there were guys like Luca Toni.
Hmm.
There were guys like Roberto Baggio,
Yeah.
Pep Guardiola.
Pirlo was young too. Was Pirlo there already at that time? Was
Pirlo was there in January when I transferred. He did the last 6 months of the season on loan from Inter Milan. But when I went in July, he was already with AC Milan. He had
Oh,
transferred to
okay.
AC Milan. But these are there was Daniele Bonera. There was big time players. And
Is it overwhelming to be on the practice field with these legends? We can call them, I guess.
yeah, for sure. for sure, because they're. You see, that's the thing. Like I should have taken it as a learning experience. So yes, it's overwhelming because often I would play more or less in the same areas, like Baggio or like Guardiola.
Mm.
And what I should have done was look at them, admire them, but learn from them.
Yes.
You know, and instead I was not doing that. You know, and I was not doing that to my best of my abilities. You know, and back then it wasn't big to have like a mental coach in teams or psychologists and stuff like that. We didn't have that.
Yeah.
So nowadays, if I would be there nowadays, I'm sure that they have that resource.
Yeah.
These are people that I could have gone and speak to, and things would have changed. Things would have changed. So you really needed to figure out on your own how to find the solution. But like I said, I don't regret anything. um it did play with my mind. Then after that, I went to play in Catanzaro, then back to Frosinone, in third division. But mentally I wasn't calm. I wasn't
Yeah.
calm, and because I was so focused when I left Canada to make Serie A, and I made Serie A, and it was like, okay, that's the end, like. And now,
Where do I go from here? Yeah.
where do I go from here? And then 8 months later, a year later, you're back in third division. So it's, I'm going to make a reference
Looking
to
back now,
hockey.
you see that would have been part of the process. But back then, as a young man trying to reach your dream, where you reach it and then you take two steps back, it affects you mentally, and you
Of
start
course,
you start asking
of
yourself
course,
questions.
of course. And I look at the Habs, and I look at Kotkaniemi. He
Very
came
good, yeah.
in very, very young, exciting. At first, he did well. Then he started to not do so well. Then they send him to Laval. I'm sure mentally, he had some struggles mentally,
Oh
and
yeah,
and I went through the same type of thing. And but like I said, I mean, these are all things that help me. These are all things that I could use nowadays to in my coaching career. I could use
yeah.
nowadays to help my daughter, my son, because they do sports, and it's a struggle for them as well. But now I can help them out. I can give them what I went through as
It also
experience.
shaped the man you are today. Also, all these
Exactly.
life experiences.
Exactly.
So then, okay, so then you have a bit of a hard time, and you had a situation with a contract that ends up you making the decision to come back to Montreal,
Yeah.
and then you decide to go play with the Impact. You have the offer to go play with the Impact, so you come back. How was that coming back and playing for your hometown?
Look, that was fantastic because I mean, in the end, I came home. I was back home at my parents' house, in my own environment. There again, I came home with the thought that I was going to play with the Impact and go to university. And then all of a sudden, all that stress, all that weight on my shoulders from the situation in Italy disappears,
Hmm.
and I'm free again. And I have an amazing season with the Impact. I start playing, I start enjoying myself. My parents are at the games, they're watching me, they're supporting me. My family's at the games, like my cousins and all that stuff. And it just brought out like this joy inside, this freedom to go out there and just explore and play, and have fun.
Have fun, basically.
Exactly, have fun, and that's exactly what I did. And for as soon as I started doing that, then the national team comes calling. So now you get called by the Canadian national team at
How is
the
that?
20.
How is that feeling when you get that first call, that first telephone call saying we'd like to have you on the national team? That must be a
Look, it's
pride you feel, no?
oh, for sure, for sure. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. I never expected it. When I got the call, the first game was in Costa Rica, and I go to Costa Rica. I think there was an injury or something. Frank Yallop asks me to go in. I go in. I'm not expecting anything. All I'm doing is I'm going in. We had 3 or 4 days of training before our game. Get in there, not expecting anything. And the day before the game, Frank Yallop comes to tell me, okay, so tomorrow night you're going to start. And now it's like, okay, wow,
Oh.
perfect. So we're playing in Costa Rica, and I'm in the dressing room really, really nervous. And in the end, I just told myself, and these are little tricks that you learn along the way, because also, not only learning about the game on the field, the technical and tactical stuff, but the mental game. And I said to myself in the dressing room, I still remember, I said, you know what, go out, play. If you play bad tomorrow morning, you're still going to be at the Montreal Impact, and it's going to be fine. And you have nothing to lose, because yesterday you weren't at the national team. And if you play well, you're going to be on the national team for the next few years.
Right.
So went out, had a fantastic game, had a decent game. Not a fantastic game, because I watched the game recently. It's I found it on YouTube.
Oh.
It wasn't a fantastic game that I had, but I had a good game, a
Mhm.
decent game. I did
And this,
some good stuff, and then from there I just I was in the national squad for 3, 4, 5 years, and
this was a World Cup qualifier, right?
was World Cup
Yeah.
qualifying. Yeah, so that made it a lot more enjoyable,
Yeah.
right? Because now I went from the lowest low, the highest high in Brescia, to the lowest low coming back to Montreal, saying I quit. Then I go back to a high with the Montreal Impact. Then I'm on the national team, and now all of a sudden I'm in World Cup qualifying, try to qualify for the 2006 World Cup.
Wow.
It's a real roller coaster, and we were close. We were close. Well, we weren't in the hex yet, because
Mm.
in the CONCACAF you have the last 6 teams that play
Yes.
for the hex. We were in the round just before that, and we were close to getting into the hex. Unfortunately, we didn't get there. We were winning against Honduras, and Honduras tied up the game in the last few minutes of the game.
That's the
If we
game.
would have
That's the game that that you guys they made you play in the middle of the afternoon, scorching hot, with no
12,
AC in the
12
locker
o'clock or
room.
12:30, air conditioning in the dressing room that doesn't work, but you see it, it's there. It looks brand new, but it doesn't work. We went out for warm up. We warmed up. We literally stayed out for 5 minutes just to get the legs moving, and we went back in because it was way too
It
hot.
was hot.
Um, and what's funny about that is that as soon as the national anthem started for Canada, the clouds kind of came over, and it lowered the temperature by easily 5, 6, 7 degrees, and it
Oh
was
wow.
it was it was fantastic, and it was actually easier to play. And we were up 1-0. We had chances to make it 2-0. We scored a goal that was disallowed. That shouldn't have been disallowed. We would have been up 2-0. And but I mean, I look back at it now, and these are fantastic memories.
Of course. Could only
Um,
imagine.
yeah, and the fact that these games are on YouTube and stuff like that makes it more enjoyable, because I can go and watch them now.
Yeah, it must be cool to watch and even to show your kids. Even look at that.
Exactly, exactly. So
Another game that must be a big memory for you in international play was maybe on September 3rd, 2005. I don't know if you remember the date. It was a friendly
yeah,
against Spain, and it was in Spain, right?
it was in Spain. Yeah, in
Yeah,
Santander.
Santander. Yes,
Yeah,
exactly. And I looked up that roster, and even though most of them only came on in the second half, that's a pretty heavy roster that ended up winning the Euro 3 years later. We're
yeah,
talking about players like Fernando Torres, Luis Garcia, Sergio Ramos, Xavi Alonso, Joaquin, Raul, Vicente, Xavi, and then you come on. What was the score when you came on?
it was 1-0. No,
One
sorry, it was 2-0.
2-0. They just had scored right before you coming on. They just had scored the second goal.
Yeah.
So you come in. Explain us a bit, because everybody that's seen that goal, it was a beautiful goal. Explain how that play went through in your mind. How do you saw the ball and everything?
Look, I mean, I came on with a mission. I just want to have fun. I just want to
Mhm.
get on the field and play. And luckily, I had a ball that I recuperated in the midfield just before, so I got my feet wet a little bit. This ball gets into Josh Simpson, who's going down the sideline, crosses it towards the middle. Defender kind of scuffs the ball, and the ball's just rolling in a perfect height, perfect speed. And who knows me knows that I love to shoot the ball, and it just came, and I said to myself, you know what, just hit it. I hit it with the inside of my foot. I basically passed it into the corner. I used basically the momentum of the ball coming towards me to just guide the ball into the corner. Went around a defender and just into the side netting. Look, these are goals that you score not every day. Um, I don't think it's luck, but you also have to say to
I'm sure
yourself
you
like how many
practice those in your head and even on the field many times, those shots outside the box and everything.
exactly.
And when it happens in the real game and everything works out perfectly and the ball ends up in the back of the net, what a
Yeah,
great feeling. And even just watching you after scoring that goal and going to the sidelines, the the happiness in your face was just great to watch. So I can only imagine how you felt.
yeah, for sure. I mean, look, when I got on the bus after, the first person I called was my brother, and I'm like, I just scored. Like, what do you mean? I just scored against Spain. Like I can't believe it, and it was a fantastic goal. And then, I only played 18 minutes that game. I think I came out at the 72nd or 71st minute or something like that. But I had that goal, and then I had a great action with Dwayne De Rosario just missing after that. And in that action, like I go around Xavi with a 1-2, and back then you look at it and you say, okay, you went around Xavi. Now that we know who Xavi ended up
Exactly.
being, it was like wow, like that's something to look back on, to cherish. Never forget about it, and
It's gonna be a fun story to tell your grandkids that you played against Xavi and
yeah,
Torres and Raul, which is a legend.
yeah, and like you talked about Raul. I have his jersey, so after the game, I exchanged
You
jerseys
swap
with him.
jerseys. Oh,
Yeah, I have his jersey. He signed it.
it's so cool.
Um, and it's hard for people to understand, but when I knocked on the door of the Spain dressing room to go and get the signature, Puyol opens the door and guides me all the way towards Raul, and I just thought to myself like I'm afraid, like I'm knocking on the door like a little bit timid, and
Yeah.
these people are like, no, come in, like they're just down to earth, and they're human beings like everybody
Yes.
else,
It's just
and
us that are starstruck. Yeah.
exactly. And I remember going into the dressing room. He was at the back, and he had no problem signing the jersey. It was a fantastic moment that I'll never forget. And look, these are things that I can keep in my locker for forever, and I'm very grateful to have been able to play at that level. I'm very grateful that Mother Nature, God, gave me the gift, and that many look to go and find, and and
Very
and I
true.
had it. I had it with me, and that's
And
it. So
I talked about the Spanish team, how good they were, but that Canadian roster was a very good Canadian roster too.
we were
I
very,
could
very
say,
good. Yeah,
I could say that about until now. I guess that was could call it maybe the golden era of Canadian soccer. Like you mentioned, Dwayne De Rosario, which has his lot of nice goals too from outside the
yeah,
box.
yeah.
And uh, name us some of the players. Can I remember? I don't remember them off the top of my head, but there was Dwayne De Rosario.
So there was
Uh,
Dwayne De Rosario. There was Thomas Radzinski, who had a
yes,
fantastic career in Europe. Mike Klukowski, Ante Jazik, that had fantastic careers in Europe as well. There was Kevin McKenna, that played for a long
yes,
time with in Germany in the Bundesliga, second Bundesliga, first Bundesliga. Atiba Hutchinson, who's
Hutchinson.
who's
Yes.
one of the gods of Besiktas soccer club right now. He's still captain.
Mhm.
So that's great. Like there's Julian de Guzman that was on that team.
Yes, Julian de Guzman. Yes.
Look, we had a fantastic squad. Patrice Bernier was there, and we had a fantastic squad, and it was a good group of guys. We were all guys that were very down to earth. guys that wanted to work for each other, guys that loved being together. Like we used to look forward to going to the national team, so we could just be together
Yeah.
and talk and train and see each other and see the Canadian blood again together. Once every I don't know few months, and
Yes, once every few months when you have the international breaks.
yeah, and till this day, like we're still in contact with many of those guys. So
It's cool. You create friendships and relationships that live on forever with these people.
yeah, yeah. Like with that squad, 6 months later, we beat Austria 2-0 in Austria,
Oh,
um, and like sometimes it's unfortunate that you don't these groups of players, we didn't fall in the right moment. Like the World Cup qualifying was already finished,
mm.
but if we would have played the World Cup qualifying a year before with this squad,
With that group.
we would have probably been able to qualify. And you said the golden era. I mean, look, for sure, 1986, that group there should be
Yes,
always considered the
it's
golden
true.
era,
You're right.
just
You're right.
because they qualified for the World Cup.
Yeah,
Like
that's
we
correct.
haven't
You're
done
right.
it before, and we haven't done it since.
It's true. It's true. You're
I
right.
hear a lot of people nowadays talking about the young generation. It's a fantastic group, lots of talent,
Oh, yes.
but they can't be called the golden era until they qualify. The
That's
golden
right.
era is going to be forever 1986 group until somebody else qualifies. And I think this new squad has a good chance of qualifying. So we
Especially
can be.
especially for 2026, if with I think we're allowed to that host being a host country. I'm not 100% sure, but I think we're allowed to be in the
Yeah,
tournament as a host.
that's not I'm not sure if it's 100% sure yet,
Okay.
just because
Because
look, I'm,
there's
I'm
three
not
hosts.
100%
Yeah.
sure, but it's because like Montreal now is not sure of hosting.
Yes.
Edmonton doesn't want to host. Vancouver pulled out. Is Toronto? So if we don't have a host city,
Yeah.
how can we have a host country? I,
Yeah.
I don't know how that's going to work. I
That's
hope,
true.
I hope, but like that's going to be qualifying through the back door. I'm
Yeah.
sure if you ask John Herdman today
He
and their
doesn't want to
staff,
qualify
they
that
want
way.
to qualify for 2022 through the
Oh
front
yes.
door. You know,
Guaranteed. Guaranteed.
so even though in 2026, if it is through the back door, if they go in the group stage and they don't win a game, then it was only through the back door.
Yeah.
But if they go through the group stage and they win a couple and they pass the round,
And they prove
then
themselves.
even if they qualified through the back door, they still will have succeeded for in some way.
So after that time when you played with the national team, I guess some eyeballs were turned back onto put the spotlight back on you, and you start getting some offers again from Europe,
Yeah.
and you end up choosing to go to Norway, and that brings you to play, I guess, in European football, which is the prestige of playing in European football. That you end up,
Of course.
I don't know if I pronounced that right. The team Molde, is that
Well, the first year I went to Viking. So I
Viking?
went to
Yes.
Viking. I signed with Viking. The coach was Roy Hodgson.
Oh,
Uh, yeah, it was Roy Hodgson, and that's something that really convinced me. First of all, Roy Hodgson is the coach. Second of all, they're playing in Europa League.
yep.
So I went there, did well. Roy was a very nice man, very good coach, and I had the chance to play in Europa League. We were in the group stage. We were actually very close to qualifying for the next round. In our group, we had teams like AS Monaco, Slavia
Whoa.
Prague, CSKA Sofia from Bulgaria, and we had Hamburg from Germany.
Oh,
First game of the group, we play Monaco with guys like Mike On. Like their
oh,
right back and left back was Mike On and Patrice Evra.
oh,
and,
yeah.
and their striker was Emmanuel Adebayor.
Ooh.
So it was a great squad, and we were able to beat them at home
Oh,
1-0. Our second game, we go to Hamburg, which was much tougher. Hamburg had Van Boyten, had Van der Vaart, who's a phenomenal player. And the reason I know is because I was often in his area on the field, and it was not easy. It was not easy. We
marking him.
lost 2-0. We lost 2-0. Then we played the Slavia Prague at home. If I'm not mistaken, we drew. We drew that game. Anyways, we ended up finishing, I think, second or third in the group. Um, Actually, third, if I'm not mistaken. And we didn't qualify for the next round, So, and then from there, I transferred over to Molde. And then in Molde, we, again, they bring me in because they're going into Europa League as well. So we play first round. I think we played in the qualifying round. We played a team from I don't remember which club we played, but then in the second round we played the Glasgow Rangers,
Oh,
and that was a great game.
that's where you
We,
tied the first leg at home 0-0, right?
yeah, we tied the first leg at home 0-0. We should have won that game. We had a couple of good opportunities to score. We played a great game. We faced them, you know, we faced them up, and we played a very good game.
You
The
didn't let them
second
score
game,
that important away goal, which is already important when you're playing at home.
yeah, they didn't score. They didn't score the away goal, and if we would have been able, but I mean, we missed a couple of chances, but it is what it is. And then we go to Glasgow and we lost 2-0. But even
At
there,
Red
we had
Rock
a couple of,
Stadium.
yeah,
How is it when you
amazing.
walk onto the pitch in an iconic stadium like that?
Yeah, look, I mean, what was the best thing about that stadium was the dressing room. I mean, the dressing room was this old wood. I felt like I was playing in 1925. Like it was like fantastic. I remember walking into the dressing room and saying, "Oh my gosh, this is beautiful." No new age stuff. It was like really like benches, and you got a couple of hooks to put your stuff on. But it was all um, in blue, their colors, but in this dark brown wood. And then walking on the pitch was fantastic because the stadium is absolutely beautiful.
The
Uh,
capacity at that stadium is what, maybe 60,
Not sure the
70?
capacity, but it's probably around 50, 60. Yeah.
Wow, it's
Uh,
crazy.
yeah. So stadium was packed the night that night. The fans were rocking and rolling all game long. Very loud. You couldn't hear your teammates. You couldn't hear anything. Um, we ended up losing. I mean, we didn't have the experience that they had. So, but having said that, we were still close. We weren't that far away. And
And I'm sure that brought you as a player yourself to play in a prestigious tournament like that against a iconic team like that. It gave you experience to further on in your career.
yeah, for sure, for sure, it was a fantastic experience, fantastic moment. You get to play against the big time opponents, and you get to measure up and see, like, you see yourself on the pitch with these guys, and you say, okay, look, like I played against this guy and I played against that guy, and like to this day, when we played Hamburg, Van der Vaart actually scores I think it was the second goal, and the combination that he does around me actually was so quick, and this is what makes you understand, like, okay, like I think I'm a decent player. I think I'm a player to play at this level. But then you start to see these types of talents, and you say to yourself, "Wow, like this is top notch." But we're also talking about one of the best
Elite, yeah.
Dutch players to ever play the game. So, and then I was lucky enough to have that opportunity, and that's it. So
So then later on, after that stint in Norway, you end up coming back to the Impact for a second run in the it was USL or NASL at that time, in the second
NASL at that time.
NASL. And I don't know, that year I think they played in the CONCACAF Champions League. Did you play in it too?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So
I guess that experience of having played in European football uh,
yeah,
helped out in that tournament with the Impact.
for sure, for sure. I mean, I came back due to injury. I had a couple injuries. I had to get operated and stuff like that, and I came back trying to find a solution. I couldn't get over the hump, and then all of a sudden, I found an osteopath in Montreal that really helped me out, got me back on my feet within 3-4 weeks.
Wow.
I was back to normal. The Impact was here in town. They offered me a contract. I decided to sign with them. Then we get into CONCACAF Champions League. Have a fantastic group stage with some decent teams like Atlante of Mexico and Joe Public of Trinidad and stuff like that. And we passed the first round, and then we play in the quarterfinals. We play against Santos Laguna.
Laguna.
Um, Very memorable because we played at the Olympic Stadium and there was over 60,000 people.
Yeah, I think
I
I
think
was at that game. Yeah.
I think it was the first time since 1981-82 when the Manic was here that there was
Yes.
60,000 people in that stadium for soccer. So actually,
For
the
a
Manic
for a USL for an
since the
NASL
since
team.
this year since the Manic.
Yeah, yes, that's
Since
right.
yeah. So that's it. So we play that game. We have a fantastic game. We win 2-0, and then we go to Mexico, and we play a decent game until about the 75th minute, and then
Because you scored 2 goals, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember
yeah,
correctly, in that game
yeah,
in
we scored
Mexico.
two away goals, and we were in the driver's seat, and I just think the last 15 minutes we started backing up, and we were soaking pressure, and it was coming fast. Um, we weren't fully fit because of the fact that we played in the month of February, March,
Yeah, in the
where
off season here, yes.
we were in the off season. So that played a factor, and I think our legs just gave out on us. And look, the ambiance in that stadium was crazy as well. And it got the better of us. We should have been able to bring that result to the end, and they ended up scoring with a few seconds left, and they won 5-2, and we were eliminated. But
I still think it's a very good accomplishment what that team was able to reach in that tournament, considering that they were a second division North American team, which
look,
is
I mean,
already
the
huge.
reality is that the goalkeeper of Santos Laguna that year made more money. His annual salary was more than the whole team of the Montreal Impact put together.
Yeah, you see
So
the disparity in
yeah,
resources that they had compared to what Montreal had at that time.
yeah, and it's not an excuse because Tottenham has a $750 million budget, and last week they played Dinamo Zagreb that has a $50 million budget, and they lost. So
Yeah, it's you're completely right. Sometimes it's not only about resources; it's about playing the game. That, like they say, there's that football saying, and it's also a movie. On any given Sunday, right? It's all
yeah,
about. It doesn't matter what the roster is on paper, but it's the way they play the game on the field that ends up being the difference maker.
exactly.
Okay,
Yeah,
so let's move on a bit to your to the second aspect of your career, into the coaching and development. So when you decide to call it a career and decide to go into coaching, you go into L'Étoile de l'Est,
yeah.
where there is basically where you learned how to be a coach, and how is the good ways of teaching young players, where you were able to some players, Josué Duverger, Abraham Duverger, Matthew Catavallo, even Karifa Yao. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right.
Yeah,
And so even Gary Gall, which is now the president, I guess, of Montreal Manic,
yeah.
has said uh, that there is no one in Quebec that has developed as many youth players as Sandro Grande. So talk us a bit about how was that growth process at L'Étoile de l'Est that made you the coach and developer you are today.
Look, I mean, the reality is that I've always been a coach in a sense. Like playing in the midfield. There's a lot of reading of the game, a lot of anticipation. So I've always been practicing my craft. In 2011, when I decided to retire and get into coaching, I studied a lot. I still study today. I'm still always researching, finding new things and new trends and all that stuff. Sat down, built a plan, and when I went to Etoile de l'Est, I told basically the club, like, we're going to get players that are going to be a national team, and we're going to get players that are going to sign pro within 10 years. And many people laughed at me, not in a bad way, but just to say, like, Sandro, come on, like,
Yeah.
that's not possible, like,
Be realistic.
yeah, be realistic, and for me, it was like, no, I am being realistic. And 10 years later, we were able to produce a lot of those players. And again, I don't want to say produce because we didn't. It's not us. It's
Mm.
not myself. It's not the technical staff that produced these players. They
They
produced
defend
their own.
themselves.
We just helped them along the way. We guided them. We put certain we paved the way for them. After that,
Yes.
if they want to walk on it, they walk on it. If they don't want to walk on it, they don't.
Yeah.
And we laid down the foundation for them, and we're happy. I'm so, like, when I talk about these players, people think that all you want is recognition. I don't want any recognition. I want
Mm.
those players to get recognition.
Yeah.
I had my time as a player, and now my objective, my goal is to help the next person have their time. And when
Make them
Matthew
shine.
Carvalho plays at the World Cup, I was the first one on the screen watching the game because I'm a fan of him now.
Yeah.
Like, he always looked at me as a coach, maybe, but now I'm looking at him as a fan. I'm looking
Yeah.
at Karif Yao as a fan, Josué Duverger, Abraham Duverger, Samuel Salter, Nassim Mekidash, Edouard Traoré, all these players that have moved on and are playing at the highest level. I'm looking at them as a fan. I'm their
Mm.
biggest fan. I'll be the first one at the stadium if ever they play at the highest level, and I'm able to go and watch their games. I'll be the first one at the stadium, and I'll be the first one cheering them on. So it's their time. We did nothing. Myself, all the technical staff, Joey Cortese, Amro Radwan, Emad Ibrahimi, Francis, um, all the coaches that were involved, we did what we had to do, but in the end, the players did what they had to do.
What can we say is Sandro Grande's philosophy of soccer as a coach?
Look, it's possession based. I think if the ball is on the ground and the ball is passed between, and all the players are participating in every single moment of the game, well, every player is going to be progressing.
Okay.
If we just take the ball and kick it up to the strikers, well, whoever kicks the ball is going to be developing how to kick the ball longer, and whoever gets on the end of the ball to end up running, yeah, he's going to develop maybe a little bit. But the reality is that 2 out of the 11 players are going to develop.
That's
For
true. Yeah.
me, soccer is played on the ground, and I'm happy that world football is now showing that more and more clubs are playing the ball on the ground. Pep Guardiola, I was fortunate enough to play with him, and I'm fortunate enough to watch many of his games. Um, and I take examples of Pep, I take examples of Jurgen Klopp, and Bielsa, and these coaches here, and I look at them and I say to myself, that's the way I want my teams to play as much as possible, and I think that's the best way to develop soccer players.
I heard Pep Guardiola say something, and I think it was you that posted it on Facebook, saying that when my players are running, they're not doing the right thing.
When they're
Because
running too
yeah,
much, they're not
yes,
doing the right thing.
it's
You have
all
to
about
run less.
positioning. It's all about
Run
positioning, knowing where to be on the field.
exactly. Running less, finding space, and having confidence that your teammates, your players,
We'll
are going
find
to
that.
be able to find you if you're in the right space. And that's what the game is about. I mean, if Barcelona is the top of all tops with regards to that type of philosophy, and like prior to a few years ago, everybody used to say, "Oh yeah, but that's only Barcelona. Only Barcelona can do that." Now Pep Guardiola goes to Man City, has hardly any players from Barcelona, if any.
Hmm.
Um, has players from Belgium, from Germany, from here, from there, and yet is able to do the same thing. So
Yeah.
this means that you're able to do it with many types of players. And then you have Jurgen Klopp that does it with Salah, who's Egyptian, Mane, who's Senegalese, Firmino, who's Brazilian, and even them, they take the ball, and 65% of the game, 70% of the game, they have possession of the ball. So
Mm.
even they're able to do it, right? So
Yeah.
these concepts are coming out more and more, and it's giving for more goals. It's making the game more enjoyable. It's It's a lot of attacking football, and that's it. So
And for here in Canada, like going forward, and to try to develop, what does Canadian youth soccer need to try to develop more, not talented, because the talent is there, but to make them, help them reach that next level? What does Canadian youth and academies uh, need to show that to the youth generation?
yeah, look, I mean, I think we're on the right track, but you have to understand. Everybody has to understand. Like we're starting from way behind.
Yeah,
So, now you have guys like Jason Devos, Dave Nutt, who are revamping the program, the national program. Um,
I would just saw Mauro Biello in with the U23 team, which they
yeah,
were pretty impressive too. Yeah.
yeah, no, for sure. I mean, but that's performance. Jason
Yes.
and Dave Nutt are rebuilding from the foundation
Oh,
with the
okay.
youth
Okay. I understand. I understand.
development system. So now programs are starting to get into place. What it's going to take is that, um, first of all, we stop looking at how many wins and losses U10 players have, or U12, or U13, or U14. It doesn't matter. And this is a big thing in our philosophy, in our culture here. Like winning is everything. No, it's not everything. Now, are you going to go on the field to lose? If you're going on the field to lose, then just stop playing sports.
Yeah. Yes.
You're not going on the field to lose. You're going on the field to win. But you can't go on the field to win at all costs and do anything possible to win the game. You have to do the right things over and over and over and over and over a certain amount of years. And it's
Mhm.
many years. It's not
Right.
1, 2, 3 years. It's like 10, 15, 20 years. And only then will we be able to let the kids enjoy the game, let the kids be free to express themselves, and not worry about the stress of the result. I read a quote. If I'm not sure if it was Iniesta or Xavi, but he basically says, I lost more games at 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18 than I did when I was with the first team in Barcelona.
Hmm.
He goes, because
Interesting.
losing games at that age didn't matter,
Hmm.
because we were trying to do the right thing on the field. So if you make a mistake and the other team scores and they win the game, well, you made a mistake. You're going to learn from that mistake.
Hmm.
You know,
Exactly. We learn through
uh,
failure. Hmm.
yeah. Coaching education. So Jason Devos, he's revamped the coaching education. These are all things that are going to help out. And then I think that's the foundation. So they're starting from the foundation, which is great. Um, what's going to have to happen is whatever's a little bit higher, like the 18, 19, the performance age groups, there's going to have to be at a certain point some kind of creation of more pro clubs, um, more professional academies,
Okay.
because we need to have a little bit of a pro pathway.
Okay.
And right now, if we only have all our apples in, you know, CF Montreal, Toronto FC, and Vancouver, well, it's only three
Right.
pro clubs. So imagine we have 300 uh, super talented players in an age group. I don't know, the 19-year-olds across the country. We have 300 top elite players, but now we only have a U19 at let's say CF Montreal,
Hmm.
TFC, and Vancouver.
Uh-huh.
That's 20, 20, and 20. That's 60. Where do the other 240 players go?
That's where the CPL comes into play, and where it's very important that this league works and expands, even because I think 8, 9 clubs is not enough for because in Canada there's a lot. I think, if I'm not mistaken, or at least here in Quebec, there is more kids playing soccer than there are playing hockey. So
In
it's
Canada, I think
cool.
youth soccer players are, or no, soccer players in general, I think it's close to 950,000 or
Wow.
900,000,
You see,
and hockey players is 500,000.
you see.
Now,
So the
what
pool is
differs?
there.
Yeah, the pool is there. What differs is, um, in hockey, first of all, obviously it's culture.
Yeah.
Okay. Because if you go to Brazil and you take somebody that's never played soccer, never played in an organized team, I'm sure he's able to play soccer.
Hmm.
So it's culture.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is that what I said before is that yes, they have their youth, their community clubs, and all that stuff. But then arrived at midget AAA, the boy doesn't play for that youth club anymore. He goes to a midget AAA team.
Mm.
So there's an elite structure, and then from there he moves on to a junior major pathway.
Hmm.
And then from there they get drafted to the NHL and stuff like that. So they have that elite structure above, and they have that development system underneath.
That makes
What
perfect
soccer
sense.
doesn't have right now is the above part, and we're
Hmm.
building the underneath part. You know, and like you said, eight clubs in CPL is not enough, but I'm sure there's going to be more. Unfortunately, COVID put
Yeah.
a halt on some of that because there was supposed to be more expansion teams coming
Yeah.
in. I have no doubt in my mind within 2 years there's going to be maybe 12 to 15 CPL clubs,
Which is already better. Yeah.
which is already better, and all these clubs are going to start their academies.
Yeah.
Now, whether it's academy that they do the academy, like no, not the Montreal, but the CF Montreal or Toronto FC, or they're going to be associating themselves with youth clubs in their cities and creating a system where those players have a a pyramid, and at the top of the pyramid there's their club. Like Atletico Ottawa is forming partnerships with many youth clubs in Ottawa, and so they're not going to have an academy at first. They might have an older academy later on, maybe like a U19 and U21 or something like that. But now all these clubs are streaming their players towards Atletico Ottawa. So that's what's going to drive the game forward. That's what's going to drive more avenues, and that's what's going to motivate players. That's the way culture is going to be built, because the players are going to see, okay, because not right now everybody thinks hockey, I I can play in the NHL. Soccer, well, at 18 I stopped.
Wow.
And I think that's going to change that mechanism.
I guess that's what you guys are trying to build with the Montreal Manic FC. Uh, I heard that presentation you guys did on Facebook, and it's very interesting the structure that Alain Olio, the philosophy he's building. So you're gonna be in charge of the U15, the U17, and the U19, which him and yourself also described it as pre-formation, formation, and post-formation. Explain to us what that brings. What that brings for the youth, for the kids.
So every age group, every stage there's different objectives. So there's different. So in the pre-formation, like the players, there's going to be a lot of difference between size, a
Mm.
lot of difference between maturity, a lot of difference between hormone levels. Hormone levels when kids start to become adolescent, it plays a big role. There's different objectives that we're going to go and attack at the U14, U15 levels. At 17, you're in that in between where there's still a little bit of what you had at U14, U15, but you can, they're almost adults. They're almost at their full maturity. And then at U19, they're basically all adults. They're basically 90% of them, 95% of them, and higher have basically all done their growth, their maturity. They're stable. Mentally they're not fragile and all this stuff. And that's where you need to start getting into a different frame of mind, where the next step after that is pro.
Mm.
So at that point, winning becomes important. Uh, Personality, mentality, all that stuff becomes very, very important at that point. The goal, the objective of Manic Academy is going to be to create more pathways. I mean, right now we have a partnership with Glasgow Rangers. We have a partnership that we will be announcing in the next couple of weeks with an Italian club.
Oh,
We have a partnership with an English club that we will be announcing in the next couple of months.
oh, nice.
There's a partnership being developed in France, in Switzerland, in Germany, in Poland, in Croatia. So again, we go
Want to
back
have
to
as
what we said.
many open doors for your kids.
Exactly,
Mm.
exactly. And all these clubs that are in Europe, I mean, if you tell me right now, Sandro, you're crazy, you're never going to send a player to Glasgow Rangers, I might say, you know what, you might be right. But maybe Glasgow is going to help us place a player in a second division squad, and hopefully the kid progresses, and then maybe later on he's going to go to Glasgow.
Yeah.
So having these contacts is going to be very, very important. I mean, just doing a showcase here in Montreal and bringing scouts or whatever is not enough. If the scout leaves Montreal and then you're not in contact with him, it's finished.
Yeah. It stops
Instead,
there.
we're going to have a showcase in September, from September 3rd to September 6th, and all these clubs that you will be seeing partnerships with in the next few months, they're all going to be here.
Wow.
So now you're going to have
that's a lot of eyes on the kids. Yeah.
exactly. And if one boy ends up getting seen, we've done our job.
Yeah.
We've done our job. We've opened up a door for somebody that maybe before September 3rd didn't have that open door. So
Yeah, and Alain Olio said that. He said it was funny when I heard that, because when he said some people ask what is the philosophy of Montreal Manic, and he just simply said score a goal. And he said in French also attaquer pour mieux défendre, which we can translate that offense is the best defense.
Exactly.
We talked a bit about that philosophy, but because he also said the first year will be a preparation year. But how do you what is that philosophy of scoring a goal? It's basically possession, like you were talking about before.
So what he meant by that is basically, it's very simple. Soccer is you score one goal more than the opposition, right?
Yeah.
So
yes,
for him, his mentality is I'd rather win a game 4-3 than win it 1-0.
Wow.
And the reality is that attacking is more difficult to develop than defending is. Defending is difficult to develop. It's not easy. Okay. I don't want people to get my words a little bit distorted, but the reality is that when you get to the pro level, most of the teams nowadays are playing attacking football. Yeah. And if you don't have the tools to play attacking football, it's going to be tough for you to get to the next level. Okay. Defending part of it is still very pertinent in the game, but it's in different moments. It's in different little tendencies and stuff like that, a lot more teams are not defending on top of their box like Italy used to do in 1980, for example.
Italy is known for being a defensive squad.
Exactly. So that kind of football is slowly getting out of the game. And if a club is going to come here from Europe, they're definitely going to want to see the technical level of the player. What can he do with the ball? Can he play with both feet? How quickly can he realize what's around him? So his awareness, his positioning when the team has the ball, his anticipation when the team has the ball. Those are the things that they're going to be looking at. And then they're going to be looking at, how hard does he work? How mentally strong is he? How can he anticipate the opposition's play when defending? So there's going to be a lot more points on the attacking side than there is going to be on the defending side. Yeah. So that's why, if we're able to build good attacking players, even center backs that can play out of the back are very, very important nowadays. It's important that, because the play starts from your center backs. The play starts from your goalkeeper. Your goalkeeper's feet. Like, you look at Ter Stegen, and you look at Ter Stegen. You look at Manuel Neuer. You look at Ederson. Their technical ability with their feet is extraordinary. So that's really, really important.
Yeah, it's what it is, because now we're seeing more and more in European soccer playing the three center backs, the 3-5-2, and using the extremes to move up and down. Those guys are the ones running up and down the field, and possession is important, because when you have the ball, the other team can't score on you, right?
Yeah, Guardiola said it last week on Sky, not Sky Sports, but BT Sports with Gary Lineker. He said, "We need to have the ball. We need to defend by having the ball. More I have the ball, less the other team has the ball."
Yeah.
I mean, this is the key nowadays. This is the key nowadays. And look, if you look at it's not too much that much difference with hockey. The Detroit Red Wings, when they won, when they were really really good. One of the things that a lot of the commentators used to say was their puck possession in the offensive zone was unbelievable.
Yeah,
With the guys Zetterberg and
that's true.
Datsuk and all these guys. So even there, they used an attacking um, type of mentality before defending.
All right, Sandro. I think I don't want to take too much of the time, so we're gonna close it down. I'm just gonna see a few rapid fire questions that I like to
Yeah.
ask all my guests. So, who have been the three people who have been the most influential to you in the soccer world?
Like only soccer world or personal life as well?
You could do a mixture of both.
Okay, so definitely my parents, because they helped me out throughout the way. I would say they're number one. The coaches in St. Leonard, number two, and my Italian coach Stefano Sanderra in Italy.
Oh yes, that was at when you were at Potenza or Frosinone.
Isernia, Frosinone, and Potenza, all three.
Oh, okay, all three. You still have contact with him?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, he coaches in Malta now. He coaches in First Division in Malta.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, and where I don't like asking it that way, but where do you see yourself as a coach in 5, 10 years? Where would you want to be as a coach?
At the highest level possible.
Hmm.
Um,
You have all your cards, right? The UEFA cards.
yes.
And...
So I just finished my my UEFA B license. I'm in the process of finishing my UEFA A license if COVID helps us out. So I'll be done that in a few months. I have my Canadian A license. So I really want to coach pro. I think I want to try at least, and I want to do my best to get into a pro environment and go from there. And then if it doesn't work out, I love coaching 17-year-olds, 19-year-olds, 15-year-olds. So I want to strive to get to the highest level, and if I can't get to the highest level, I'm okay with coaching elite level soccer in the youth categories.
Talk to us a bit about the Sandro Grande Academy. How that is more of an individual training, right? Where you
Yeah.
offer a personal and small groups, right?
Yeah.
So talk a bit about us, so our listeners can know about that too.
Yeah, Sandro Grande Academy. Basically, we're going to work on its private training in small group training. Groups of 3, 4, 5, 6 players. Right now, because of COVID, I could only take 4 max in an hour. We're going to work on technical skills, tactical stuff, awareness, some physical stuff, coordination, agility, and the goal is just to give the players an extra session a week, an extra 2 sessions a week. Because sometimes clubs only train once or twice a week or 3 times a week, and it's not a place where the kids are going to come and they're going to be dead tired after. They're still going to be fresh enough to go and train with their clubs. So it's just an extra training. I think I want to, the goal behind it was to be able to influence as many players as possible, and being in one club only, I was able to help the kids in that club.
Mm-hmm.
But I would like to help out as many kids as possible around the city and
Give them
back
another tool in their toolbox.
Exactly, and give back to the community. I mean, I want to give back to the kids. I mean, I think there's enough kids here that they need to know my path, and and if I can help them out with my knowledge of coaching, fantastic.
I'm sure you can. So tell our listeners a bit where they can find all this information about Sandro Grande Academy, how they can find you online, where they can find you, and how to reach you if they're interested in the Sandro Grande Academy.
Yeah, so to reach me, it's Sandro G. Academy in English, ACADEMY @gmail.com. So you can just email me. On Facebook, I'm there, Sandro Grande. I'm Sandro Grande on Instagram as well, so you can find me there, and on Twitter. I'm often posting stuff. I'm often posting soccer stuff, so they can follow me on social media. And if there's anything, they can email me for pricing, details, location, and all that stuff, I'll be gladly I'll be glad to answer all the questions.
Okay, Sandro, thanks a lot for coming on. I really appreciate your time you've given me today, and I wish you all success in all your projects, and Montreal Manic all the success in the world.
Thank you very much, Michael. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Yeah, you
Thanks,
too.
guys. See you soon.